I'm currently driving with two different headlights on my truck. The first headlight is this mini projector from COLIGHT. It's LED and has a tiny little projector at the end of the bulb. So it's not a traditional LED headlight, but rather a miniature projector. The second headlight is this Morimoto Micro D2S projector. It's brand new, I just got it from Morimoto and I just installed it. We're gonna compare these lights on three simple metrics. The first of which is performance. We wanna know how these lights perform side by side. Second, we're gonna look at how difficult they are to install. No point in getting one of these lights if you aren't comfortable with what it takes to install it and how it might change your vehicle. Our third metric is passive, and that's price. The mini projector is like 60 bucks, whereas this could be $300, $400, $500, $600 depending on the options and all the equipment that you need to get it installed. We don't want to be spending extra money if we're not comfortable with the performance and with the install, so we have to look at all three of those together to make our decision. So I have this lux meter, and I'm going to use this wood board to block either side of the truck. We're going to see how bright each one is. We're going to start with the COLIGHT. All right, there's my max, 2098 lux. The hot spot is on the wall, not on the door frame, so it's the same equal test. This is the hot spot right here. 7736. So at least 3 times as bright as the COLIGHT. Now we're gonna take a look at a light output at a slightly further distance. I got my rangefinder here. I'm actually gonna rangefind this real quick for you. 48 yards, so that is about 150 feet. Let's go compare the light output. So that is our COLIGHT. Now let's swap over to just the projector retrofit. That projector retrofit definitely has a cleaner cutoff line, and the light color is also a noticeable and appreciable difference. I went with a 500 Kelvin color temperature on that projector retrofit, and I am loving it. Let's go to a wider area where we can see the light spread differences and see how that looks. Here's just the COLIGHT. Now we're gonna swap over to the projector. I prefer this color. I think the spread's a little bit better. It's hard to say for sure. We've got a very clear cutoff line in front of us. You can see where it goes from dark to light. Let's go back to the COLIGHT really quick. The COLIGHT honestly has an impressive light throw for being a mini projector. Not quite as full. There's some weird aberrations down on the ground in front of us, but it's still pretty good. That's what the COLIGHT, my bumper bar, that's what it looks like on the COLIGHT, right there. The bumper bar above my projector retrofit, which doesn't have nearly as much light reflecting onto it. This is not me knocking on COLIGHT products. I've had pretty good luck with COLIGHT. In fact, I still have their off-road lights mounted on my truck, which are considerably brighter than my headlights. Look at all this scatter that appears to be coming off the COLIGHT. Let's go block them to make sure, but just based on the light color alone, it looks like the COLIGHT is having a lot more issues just scattering light randomly around, all up and over. And while there is a clean cutoff line, with just a tiny little scatter above the cutoff line, it's far from perfect. Let's go swap. COLIGHT completely blocked out. We get very few aberrations. I think I'm picking up one over here. Yeah, so from the corner of the projector, one aberration going up and kind of above me here. The center looks good. It looks like we might have one up there. Yep, on the garage. That's coming from the projector. That's really it. There's nothing on the ceiling that I can see, and it's very clean at the cutoff line. Maybe just a little bit of spare light above it, but that's a pretty good cutoff line. Of course, we should look at the high beam, which looks pretty darn good here. Again, still very clean. A couple aberrations up there. COLIGHT high beam. Again, we got light all over the place, like just some wacky scatter. Weird stuff going on the ground. Not really a great pattern here on the high beam compared to what we have on the Morimoto. So let's look at this weird thing that happens with the electrical circuit when we press our fog light button here on the dash, this little guy. When we press our fog light button, whoa, why are we getting a high beam from the COLIGHT? That doesn't make any sense. Here's the normal high beam switch, but when we press that fog light switch, the COLIGHT, man, that's not good. Kind of annoying. In short summary, what we're seeing is that the projector is over 3.5 times as bright as the mini projector, while also providing a much cleaner cutoff line. Furthermore, the projector scatters much less light to the sides or way up high. Almost nothing hits the bumper bar, nothing's hitting the ceiling of my garage except one or two very small spots. Scatter could be mitigated if we blacked out the headlight housings, but that's another step, and a step that some people may not want to take. I would say I have a slight preference for the high beam pattern on the Retrofit. If you're finding this video useful, please give it a thumbs up so that I know you got something out of it. Thank you so much. Links to all the parts and all the tools used in this video will be in the description as well. This is my existing headlight. This is what I had the mini projector in already for the last about 7 months. They just go in the housing like so. Supposed to be able to use a clip on the back of the headlight. It is tight in there. You are able to hold them in place with all the factory equipment. What it looks like in the housing. I had to cut up and modify the back of my dust boot. You can see it's kind of torn up, dry, and cracked now. And we've had to kind of hope that this will stay waterproof. You'll also notice there's no reflector in the housing anymore. We had to take that out. Even though it seems like it's plug and play, we're permanently stuck here. Like, this headlight is modified. We would have to get a new dust boot. We would have to try to get a new reflector in there, and we'd probably have to bake off the lens in order to get that new reflector in there and working. It's not the same as just changing a headlight bulb. You might have to buy new assemblies in order to undo all that. Now, for the projector retrofits, we've got some gorgeous brand new CAPA certified headlight housings. $40 a housing. This lens is perfectly clear, and the CAPA certification means this should be a quality OEM equivalent part that's going to last us a long time. But we're going to have to take this apart if we want to stuff this projector into this headlight. Now, the projector that we're planning on putting on this headlight is a Morimoto Micro D2S. $300 for an entire kit from the Retrofit source. Time for a quick disassemble before it's ready to put in the oven. Bulb comes right out. Might as well take the screws off now. It's not like we need extra hot metal parts to handle. Won't be using that again. You gotta be careful. These lights are really hot when they come out of the oven. The lens is a little susceptible to scratching. This part right here, if it gets hot enough, this starts crinkling. We can also take the reflector. If we pinch it a little bit, take it straight out of the housing. Now we have a clean housing ready to start mounting our projector. Time to look at the wiring a little bit. So the big deal is this control harness here has to be mounted vertically is what they want to see on it. Not sure why, but that's what it says to do. On each side you're going to have one of these ballasts, and that's going to connect all the individual parts that run your headlight. Your controller harness though is actually going to plug into the H4. It's going to take power from the battery, so that's got to be in a very specific spot. Although the battery cable that I had to run, this guy actually is pretty long. This is the high beam plug. You can see all the way down there, plugging in the H4 below that, and then the connections to the ballast are down below the ballast right there. Controller harness side, you just have 2 or 3 connections. You got this one to the high beam. You're gonna have 2 connections to your ballast, and you're still gonna need to ground on this side as well to run the projector. Your controller module will pull power from the battery, and it'll plug into your H4, whereas your ballast will actually plug into the projector and into the controller. So the ballasts are the middlemen between the projector and the controller, whereas the controller is kind of taking power and signal from the vehicle. That's my understanding. All of this wiring and zip ties is a lot more to figure out than just doing the COLIGHT, where it's literally just plug into the H4 and call it a day. You have to figure out where to mount your controllers, if you have enough wire length to connect to the battery and the far headlight, things like that. There's a lot to consider on this install that you just wouldn't have to consider on a mini projector. In order to get more performance out of your headlights, you're gonna have to spend more and you're gonna have to connect more and plan for more. You're just barely using the signal at the H4 plug to pull power from the battery to power your projectors. Whereas on the COLIGHTs, you are using the power at the H4 plug to power your headlights still. So these are gonna pull more power, but they're gonna require us to think through things more, plan more, and ultimately do more work to get that extra performance. This is my second set of projector retrofits, so I'm pretty familiar with them by now, and I'm pretty familiar with the COLIGHTs as well. I've had the COLIGHTs for over 6 months, so I'm very familiar with both platforms. Now, if it was up to me, I think I'd go with the projector retrofits. Now, I know at 5 times the cost, we're probably not getting quite 5 times the performance. It's stepping up the performance so much that they're not really on the same level. They're hardly comparable. The projector retrofit is measurably 3.5 times brighter, and that cutoff line is completely better. They're not even comparable. You're talking about 1 or 2 missed reflections from the projector versus the COLIGHT, which is scattering everywhere and is only kind of safe for road use. When you look at how bad that pattern is in some spot, you're definitely gonna blind some people unless you black out your reflector housings and get rid of some of that scatter. The projector, you can aim it, you can tilt it. It's cut so that it goes down. The projector is totally made for right-hand drive vehicles. So I wish I had done projectors earlier on my truck. For some reason, I thought they were gonna ruin the look of the truck, but they really haven't. They're pretty stealth, especially when you do just the chrome. You keep the housing chrome and you don't paint the shroud. But could I do it all over again? I would have gotten the retrofits a long time ago. I love them and I'm super happy with them. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos about lighting. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.